Today's tech topic is about Apple Intelligence, and we're going to take a look at what it is and what devices and iOS and operating systems it works on. Some major features. Like I say, there's a lot of things in it. I'm going to try and cover some of the major features in it. How you activate it, because it's not activated automatically with an operating system update. You have to go into settings. We'll take a look at that. And then we'll do a few little demonstrations of things that you can do with it, okay? So what is it? Of course, Apple has been keeping up with an artificial intelligence. They've been watching it. You might have seen some announcements. It is now built into the operating system and devices for iPhones, iPads, and Macs. It's integrated with Apple applications. So that's one of the things they're doing is if you use Notes or if you use other applications, you'll find it integrated a little more tightly. It uses generative AI to generate text and graphics and some more things as well that it uses to kind of get an understanding of what you do on your device. And the important thing is that Apple has done some things to set a barrier between what you share with your AI smart agent and what you don't want to share. Apple Intelligence primarily focuses on using data on your device to understand your context, your users, your community, your photos, your contacts, what you do, and it asks for your permission when it needs to go out and use an internet-based generative AI outside of Apple. Apple does use the internet. They use iCloud, but it's secure within your specific information. It doesn't use that information for any other purpose, so it does that. And there is currently a Chat GPT extension that you can use with it free. And if you have a pro account, you can actually connect up your pro account. Now, one of the important things to understand about Apple Intelligence is that it only works on some fairly recent technology. It works with an iPhone 15 Pro and later, which means that if you have an iPhone 15, but it's not a Pro model, you won't be able to use Apple Intelligence. And Apple is hoping to get upgrades for people that will want to upgrade. A lot of people just don't know what's the benefit of Apple Intelligence. And so you may find some things today that say, gee, this is worth an upgrade, or it's not, doesn't matter that much to you. An iPad with the A17 chip Pro or an M1 chip, and then a Mac with an M1 or later. Macs with M1s have been around for 3, 4 years, so they're all pretty recent. Apple iPhone 15 is the last year's model. This year's model is the iPhone 16. iPad Pros are pretty powerful, but a lot of people have iPads that don't have an M1 or later chip. They might have an iPad that has an A chip. Those iPads won't run Apple Intelligence. So you may not find the option in settings to actually use Apple Intelligence in your device. And so it might just say Siri instead of Apple Intelligence in Siri. We'll take a look at some of those things. So one of the major things in Apple Intelligence is writing tools. When you're writing in any application in Apple, whether it's Notes or Pages, you'll see a little icon. This is Apple's intelligence icon they have. And if you tap on that or you select text, you'll have the ability to get a menu that will help you edit, proofread, rewrite. You can change the tone. You can summarize text. You can get it to give you key points, create a list or a table, or even compose as well. So this is in the writing tools, and it gives you these common functions: composing, summarizing, rewriting, and proofreading. They're really typical of all AI writing tools that are out there, but they're built into the Apple apps. And so you'll be able to activate it just by using the Apple Intelligence, or if you have some text and you select it, you'll have an option to activate Apple Intelligence for editing that. We'll take a look at that in Notes. There are some tools to help you focus and prioritize things. You can use it to prioritize your notifications, so it'll get a sense of whether things are important or time sensitive on your notifications. And when you look at your lock screen or you look at notifications on your screen, you'll see priority notifications here. And it'll also prioritize email. The email settings with Apple Intelligence have changed. And you might have seen this in your Gmail, where Gmail separates important and shopping and promotions and announcements. Now, Apple does that in their Mail app. They separate these things out so you can see what's important, what's shopping related, what's an update, and what's an announcement automatically. And there are some other tools as well. It gives you the ability to summarize some things. So it'll summarize emails. And I've got one I think I can show you where if you had a long email and you just want to get a quick, glance at it, you can tap a summary button and it'll summarize that email for you. It'll summarize, record notes and phone calls and summarize transcripts. So you can do an audio note. In the Notes app now, you can record an audio note and you can get it transcribed and you can get a summary of that transcription after you record the note as well. You can also record phone calls with in the phone app and get a summary of a transcript from that as well. There are some smart reply options where you can use it to respond to an email that it thinks things are no, like if you have an invitation, if you have a meeting, you can actually use a smart reply function and it'll reply and save you the time to type out a reply for you. There's something called Image Playground. This is a new app, but it's also available within some apps as well, where you can use it to generate images, and you can use it to generate from text to image. You can describe it. You can use it to create and craft an image from a photo. If you look at the screen here, it'll show that people you can find and you can actually make an image from a photo and have it modified. And you can also generate what are called genmojis. They're emojis, but you create them yourself and you can use them in text messages. This is all done, by the way, locally on your phone. We aren't actually going out, to the internet for everything, but a lot of these things do use Apple's internet for some activity, but this is all built in and there's no fee for any of these activities and actions. Apple has an image wand function in the iPad notes and other applications where you can sketch something out. You can use a new tool that's available with the Apple Pencil, or sometimes it's available with the finger gesture as well. You can circle an object with the magic wand. It'll take a sketch and create a image from it using generative AI for image creation. So you go from a sketch to image. You can also actually use it to find information in your note and generate an image from that note. You can say, hey, generate an image from the text in this note, and it'll come up and craft an image for you automatically in what they call context image. There's a new tool called AI Memory Movies. You'll see this little AI tool here. Instead of just creating a memory, now Apple is trying to get information about your photos and they can tell what kinds of things, and they generate a movie from still photos in addition to short videos. So it's using your photo library in order to create a movie. So you can say, generate a movie about Paris or generate a movie about me and my friends at this event or whatever. And you can use AI and it'll use that intelligence and it'll have identified photos and other graphics that you have in your photo album that might fit to be used in a memory. You can edit it obviously later, but you can create a memory movie just with a description. You can do a photo cleanup. And I know some people have tried to use this and they wondered why it doesn't remove. I found out that the Photos Cleanup tool focuses on removing background objects, not specific objects in the foreground. So it's really designed to take people out. So say you had a family photo, but you had some stranger standing in the background, it's easy to use the eraser function to be able to clean up that background person or a background object, but it's not necessarily going to give you the ability to finally differentiate from one person to another in a group photo or something like that. Those are going to require more advanced editing tools, but it's a good tool for background cleanup. And then, of course, it's integrated into Siri. Siri is working on becoming smarter, more responsive, more capable, and being able to do a lot of things for us that we'd like her to do that would make it a little bit easier for her to do things. And Apple is continuing to work on enhancing Siri's capability to give you the ability to have more conversational type interaction with it as well. So it's going to be context aware, which means that it's going to be aware of your information in your iPhone or your Mac or your iPad. It's going to be able to take action within applications. So you can ask it to do something in an application and you can use it to tap to type. There's a function in Siri now on your iPhone and your iPad where you can tap the bottom of your screen and it'll launch Siri and you can tap to type it without always having to say something to Siri in the first place. So there's a lot of things that Apple's incorporated. This is in the settings function and it's in macOS 15.2. And if you ever want to check your Mac system, you just have to go to the Apple in the upper left-hand corner and go to About This Mac and see if you're at 15.2. It's in iOS 16.2 and it's in iPadOS 18.2. So these are the versions. You'll want to check your settings. You want to check your Apple Intelligence and Siri, and you want to activate Chat GPT if you want to use that. Going to go into settings to check and I'll show you what you need to change to be able to work with it, okay? Okay, so you're looking at the home screen on the left of my iPhone and my iPad here. And my iPad thinks I want to use Siri and I don't really want to do that. I'm not sure why it's doing that. So we're going to go to settings on both devices here. So I tap settings on my phone and I'm going to go back to this list. I'm going to tap settings and move my iPad over in front of me a second here so it's a little bit easier to work with. And if I go to settings, you will see something on here in this list called Apple Intelligence and Siri. I had a friend I was helping out with Apple Intelligence and Siri. We were checking to see if their device was capable of doing it, and theirs just says Siri. It doesn't have Apple Intelligence. So if we tap on Apple Intelligence and Siri on both devices, you'll see that there is an on-off button here, okay, to activate them. So if you don't activate Apple Intelligence, you won't have it usable in any of your applications. And so that's one of the most important things to do when you're looking at working with Apple Intelligence and Siri is to make sure you turn this on. It'll say it's in beta. It'll explain more about it if you want to do more. I haven't changed any of the settings here, but you can add the extension Chat GPT here. If you tap on that, and you turn on Use ChatGPT, you can help you compose. You can't necessarily compose without turning on ChatGPT. You can edit, you can revise and do a few other things, but you want to be able to turn on ChatGPT in order to be able to have Siri or other things get out to the internet a little more effectively. I have a ChatGPT Plus account set up here, and so I've got myself signed in. And if you have a ChatGPT account, you can keep track of edits and modifications. On my ChatGPT extension here on my iPad, I don't have it set up. So when you tap setup, it would ask you, it'll explain what it does. It integrates with Siri. It lets you compose text in writing tools. Every time I say her name, she's going to launch on the screen a little bit. The way Siri launches shows you a little bit differently. You can see that little glowing aspect. And it works with a Chat GPT account if you have one. So that if you have a pro account, you'll be able to use all the functions in the pro tool. So that's basically asking you to use your username and login when you use Chat GPT. So I wanted to show you that in settings for both devices. Now, if you're wondering what operating system you have, obviously you can go to your general settings in both devices and it will show you a little bit of information. Yes, I had a typo on there. It's iOS 18.2 and iPadOS 18.2 that you want to have. And so you can see whether or not your device is up there. You'll see the model name underneath the device. Mine says i15 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro, and on the model here it says iPad Air 11-inch with an M2 chip. And remember I said you had to have a Apple iPad Pro with an A17 or an iPad with an M1 or better, or a Mac with an M1. These things will work in Mac, but I think I'll do a separate session just on Mac as well. Okay, so let me take a look at Mail here, for example, and I don't know whether I've got this set up on both devices the same, but we'll see if it works, okay? In my Mail, I created an article and I sent myself an article called Cache Memory, okay? And you can see on my phone, Mail here. I've got primary, I've got shopping, I've got messages, I've got announcements. In my iPad, I'm not sure exactly how that would show up here, but it could be because I don't have it completely activated here, so I'm not seeing everything that I want to look at. But if I tap on my phone and I look at this message, one of the things I can do is I have the ability, it'll create a summary for me of this entire article. So this is a very long article, and I just wanted to see a summary. So it creates the summary and it saves the summary so that if I ever go back and look at that message again, I can see it and I can get some information on it. Let me see if this will let me customize the toolbar. No, okay, so I'm not sure why my iPad isn't showing these options, but we'll see what take a look at that and get it set up in a little bit different way. In Notes, if I open up Notes, I have a note here, and one of the things that you're able to do, as I mentioned, is you're able to compose. If you look at up here in my note on my phone, we'll take a look at the same note here, see how it works with these. And we'll find this new one here that we're working on here. Okay, so I've got a note. On the iPad, the Apple Intelligence icon is up here in the upper corner. On the iPhone, it's on the lower. But this is the same note. This is actually going to synchronize with iCloud. So if I want to draw a house, for example, and I want to have a door with a window, and I want to have some windows here. I can do this with my Apple Pencil. I'm using my pencil. And then if I go to the toolbar here, you'll see what popped up. It says create an image. Draw a circle with image wand to create a new image inspired by your note. Okay, so now I'm going to tap on the image wand. My pencil is now active, and I start with a circle, or I can replace a sketch. So I'm going to do a wand effort about this, or I can describe an image. So I'm going to cancel this again. I'm going to use my wand, and I'm going to draw this around here, and it asks me, I want to say this is a house. Okay, so we're going to say House. Helps to do that. It likes a little bit of context when it's doing it. So now it's actually going and using generative AI and it created a house. But you can see these little dots are showing up. I only gave it house. So it gives me some options to based on my drawing and what I can do. And if I like this one, I can tap done and it'll insert it into the note. This can be moved around in the note. Eventually, it'll sync up with my iPhone. So let's go to the iPhone and see if I can draw a mountain. Okay, if I want to draw a mountain, I'm using my finger here and I'm going to draw a mountain. You can see it's occurring both places. If I tap Magic Wand and I circle this now, it'll ask me for a text. I want to tap mountain and I tap done and it'll go out and it'll start to create a mountain and give me some options that are available for what I want to use. And again, I can swipe through them with my finger and pick different choices if I want to. And when I'm done, I just tap on the done button and it'll insert it. So you can see it's already inserted the house from my iPad. So it's synchronizing with iCloud. But this tool is called the Magic Wand, and you can use it to generate a new image or create an image from Sketch. So it's one of the characteristics that are used here in your tools for working with your iPad. Now, on my iPad, I tapped on the Apple Intelligence icon, and I'm going to tap in on my phone here as well. If you tap on the Apple Intelligence icon, you get writing tools. So my writing tools include the ability to change text, proofread, rewrite, change the tone of it. So if I want something a little friendlier or more professional or concise, or I can take something, any note, and I can have it summarized. I can look at key points. I can take a list. I can do a table. So if I go to something like, if I find a newsletter that I've got here for some information. Let's find something that I did recently that is worth looking at. Let's take a look at website software. The very complicated note. So I can tap on the tool here and I can just tap summarize and it's going to summarize the entire note for me very quickly. If I do the same thing works on the iPad, on the iPhone. So if I wanted to look at this note here and I wanted to summarize it, I could tap or just make a key points and it'll bring up the key points for me and give me a bullet set of bullet points and I can actually replace the existing text or copy it or even share it. So these are tools that are built into notes, they're built into pages, they're built into email, anywhere where you can create information, they're included with it as well so that there's a really, really good convenient form tool be able to work with that in the software. And the image capabilities, if you want to go to photos and you look at the photos application, the erase tools sort of okay. All right. So as I mentioned, it's not the greatest in the world, but this is a photo I took. I was making paella when I was on a trip recently in Colombia, and one of the pictures has a person in the background. Another picture, doesn't. And I use the eraser tool to help work with that. If you tap on the edit function on your tool here, you'll see this cleanup button on the left. So I'm going to make this bigger so it shows up better. It reduced the size on me for some reason and we'll change that. So if I go to my phone and we'll try and find another photo that includes some things that maybe I want to get rid of the background in the background here. So let's take this one here where I was in a photo with the Grinch. So I've got a photo in the Grinch. And unfortunately, when the iPhone shares its screen, it doesn't show the editing functions. So I'm going to stop sharing on my iPhone and focus on my iPad because you can see the navigation tools that it gives me. And with iPhone screen sharing, it doesn't seem to want to do that anymore. So I'm going to see if I can find a fix to that eventually. So let's tap on the cleanup tool here. Don't know how well this is going to work. It prepares cleanup. It actually has to download some software. And I've used it on my phone, but I haven't used it necessarily on my iPad. So you can see it's highlighted that person for me. Okay, so I can tap and on this person and we'll see how well it does erasing that person. It did a pretty good job. I don't care about this stuff right here. I'm done. Okay, so that's not a bad photo compared to what I did with it before. And you can see how it shares a photo. It doesn't always give you the whole screen, but it did a pretty good job erasing that background image for me by highlighting it. So it has the intelligence to sense what something is without you actually needing to go into it. So those are just some of the tools that I've been using.